let's do it. So today's topic, we are talking about donation pages. And to do that, we're bringing in a man who knows more about donation pages than the rest of the world put together, Rob Sims, who designs donation pages for all of our Printer Solutions Group clients. Rob, how are you today?
I'm fantastic.
Good. How is the baseball season going?
It's going well. We're in the thick of it. I think I have 8 straight more weekends of 13-year-old baseball.
Excellent, excellent. It's gonna be warm this weekend too. It's gonna be 90s.
Down in Arkansas. That's where I'm going.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
How about that? Rob is a famous 13-year-old baseball coach. He also does sports comments. So if he looks familiar, you might have seen him on Fox Sports 1. So he works for PSG doing database stuff and designing donation pages, and then he moonlights on nights and weekends as a national sports broadcast guy. So we're excited to have him on the webinar here today. Rob, thank you for joining us. Here is a little bit of background on who we are and why we're talking about this topic. If you've attended our webinars before, you know some of this, but just as background, you're attending an AskGenius webinar, and I'll explain what AskGenius is. We actually are a consulting firm called Printer Solutions Group. So I started it 4 years ago. The first person I called 1 minute in was Rob. I said, Rob, I think I got something here. Would you come on board? So we started Printer Solutions Group. We now have 16 people full-time, a bunch of independent contractors. We're a boutique agency. Our people have worked all over the country. We do a couple things. Now, we do fundraising consulting, largely for Catholic dioceses. That's kind of the market that we serve. We run annual appeals, and by that I mean big annual appeals. So our clients are raising $5 million, $10 million, $20 million a year, and they're counting on us to help them do that. We also offer Razor's Edge database administration to some clients. So Rob actually runs a large database, Razor's Edge database for a client, a couple 100,000 records, and we do fundraising automation. All of those topics we've done webinars on, and we'll do more, but that's our background. So we come at this from the standpoint of an organization that clients pay us money to help them improve and help them raise more money. So we are constantly looking for things that we can do to improve. Any small improvement that we can make to a donation page or to a letter or to a pledge card can have huge results for us and for our clients. So we spend a lot of time nerding out on topics like donation pages and everything else. Some of the things that we've optimized, we talk about optimization a lot. Again, we have clients, we're running giant multi-million-dollar annual appeals, so we always want to get it right. We do a lot of testing, and we've committed to build in public. And this is, I think, the 7th or 8th webinar we've done in the last couple of months. We will continue to do them. Here are some of the things that we've worked on and optimized. So understanding donor personas, pledge card design, how to set the perfect ask mounts for your direct mail appeals, how to write the world's greatest fundraising letter, donation pages, social media, email campaigns. These are all things that we have dug into, formed really strong opinions on based on making a lot of mistakes and learning what works. And we feel pretty confident about sharing what we've learned. We've done webinars on these first ones here. So donor personas, pledge card design, setting ask mounts, fundraising letters. Many of you I see on the list here have attended those webinars. And where we're at today is now to talk about donation pages. The way that we have learned the best way to design a donation page is by first looking to see what other resources are out there, what research has been done, learning from people who've gone ahead of us, and we'll share a bunch of those great resources shortly. And then on our own, we do a whole bunch of A/B testing. Rob, for those that don't know, what is A/B testing? What does that mean when we say that?
We'll just put different things. We'll direct people to the same page, but the page that they arrive at will show them a couple of different options. So that will help us test a couple of different layouts that you're going to show here.
Yep, perfect. So we're going to start with pop quiz. We're going to see what the audience thinks if they know which donation page works better. So we're going to use the Diocese of Phoenix. It's one of our original clients that we've been with for a long time. So we've had a chance to test a lot of things. The first time we put up donation pages for them, we did an A/B test. We wanted to know, so we had a version on the left and a version on the right. We wanted to know what donation page would work better. One where you immediately get into the actual act of making a gift, or one where we have a photo and some content talking about the benefits of making a gift. So with that, I'm actually going to launch a poll and have everybody vote. We're going to find out. This is like not phoning a friend. What do they do on what's the millionaire show? They ask the crowd, they poll the crowd. Here we go. On your screen, let me know, left side, right side, which do you think performed better? On the left side, it's a donation page that gets right to the donation itself. On the right side is a donation page that has some content at the top, smiling photo and a couple bullet points about how your gift is going to be used. I'll give it, we are at 70% participation. I will give it another 10 seconds. All right. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the poll and share it, and we will find out. Okay, so here the group. 71% of you think the one on the right side performed better. 29% think the one on the left side went better. Let's find out. Rob, do you remember which one it was? Of course you do. On the left, 794 was the average gift, 889 on the right. That means the donation page on the right outperformed by 11%, which is a big deal. Small little improvements like that mean a lot. So from when we first ran this A/B test, we then designed all of our donation pages to include that same layout and have the affirmation language and have a nice anchor, hero image. And then we went on to test more things. Here's one of the tests that we did recently. We had this idea, again, sticking with the Dice of Phoenix there. They have giving tiers, and many organizations do, right? Join a giving club or a giving society. We thought, what if we put that name of that club on the button itself? So not just, yes, I want to donate $25, but I want to join the, donate $25, join the Our Lady of Guadalupe Circle, put it all together, because we know that people like to join clubs. We know that they like to be a part of societies. We talked about that in our webinar on letter writing. And then we had the control group, which was just the standard treatment. Let's find out again what people think. Last quiz of the day. I'll launch it here. Which one do you think performed better? So we tested out a donation page where the giving tier was on the button itself, and then we tested out one that is just normal with the ask amounts on the buttons. Give it about 5 seconds here. This one's a little bit more split. Oh. 3, 2, 1, ending the poll. All right, the group thinks that the left side, 77% of you think that the left side performed better. That was also what I thought. I thought this was the world's greatest idea. I thought that we had solved it. I was so excited to run this test and get it out there into the real world. And what happened? It performed worse. So we converted fewer people and the average donation was less. So we shut down that test, and this was not, again, we run them long enough to make sure we have good sample size and we be confident prediction. So we were wrong. That did not work the way that we wanted it to. So we shut it down, and then we move on to test something else. So we have done that across a whole bunch of areas related to donation pages. In working with clients across the country, we've seen just about everything that you can see in terms of the software that people are using, how they're approaching donation pages. So Rob, we put together the top 10 donation page mistakes and how to fix them. And with that, I think we'll just dive in. Now, Rob, this will be pretty quick hitting, right? So we're just going to kind of go run through the ones we see most often. Is that right?
Yeah, one of the things that is my biggest point is that donation pages should be simple. So we're not going to overcomplicate this and make it a long drawn out thing, but let's keep it simple and show you how to keep it simple.
Love it. Okay. Number one, the number one reason, 1 out of 10. Why is your donation page leaving money on the table? Because it's not a donation page. And here's an example. And I'm going to pick on my own church. I'm here in Omaha, and it's much better now, so I feel bad picking on them. But when I joined this church, I went to a page that said Give Now, and this is what it showed up. So this is on the page that says Give Now. And what you see is a whole bunch of things. What you don't see is the ability to give now. It talks about endowed scholarships. It talks about all sorts of stuff. It scrolls on forever and ever and ever. It talks about endowments. This is not a donation page. So this is a page that serves a purpose, right? It's about ways that you can give to this church, but it's not a donation page itself. Rob, what do we talk about when we're talking about, donation page versus, a website page having to do with an appeal?
Yeah, the donation page, we're looking for an actual giving form. So when we're talking about driving people to donation forms, we're talking about driving people to somewhere they can actually make a gift. They're going to see a form. We're not talking about sending an email out that's going to send people here. We're going to talk about sending people to an actual giving page that has a form that they can make a gift on.
Yep. And it's right to have both, right? So all of our clients do, I see the organizations on the line here, many of you do. If you run an appeal, that puts, shoes on kids that need shoes, you should have web pages that talk about giving to that cause and the big impact, and maybe you have a video and stuff about it. it's important to have those things, but you also need to have a page that is specifically just about donating. And the reason is because of what Rob said, because you're going to be sending emails, you're going to send direct mail letters, and you need people that want to make a gift to be able to go to a specific page where it's all about giving, not a page where they have to wade through videos and copying content. So for the rest of these, we are just talking about donation pages, right? Not a web page that also has a donation form, but a purpose-driven donation page. All right. And with that, it kind of ties into number two. The reason that your donation page might be leaving money on the table, you have way too much going on. Okay. This is a great sample donation page. Simple, direct. You'll notice if you go to any large nonprofit that has a significant operating budget and look at what their donation experience looks like, they are going to look a lot like these. Okay. And there's a reason behind that. This is what many donation pages look like in our consulting world, in our industry. I don't want to pick on clients. They've all, of course, gotten so much better. But you go to donate, and it's just paragraph after paragraph, tons of copy, tons of content. I should put up a poll and say, okay, the donation page on your screen right now, or this one, which one of these do you think raises $50 million a year online? You know, option one, charity water. Option two. Okay, Rob, what else about this? What about anything that I need to cover on keeping it simple?
Yeah, I think the point here is with those first two samples that you're showing is you can go here and one click and make a donation. The view page that you showed, which again, they've improved it, so that's good. But you would get to that page. It's informative, but you would definitely have to click at least once to go to another page, and likely another page, another click. You're trying to eliminate as many clicks as possible. So that's the friction that gets in the way of making a donation. You want to eliminate those.
Yes, and I love that word. Friction is what we're on the lookout for. I think, Rob, you've always counseled our clients on this. One of the most impactful things you can do is go make a gift to your own organization, right? Like for the folks on the line, when was the last time you went to your organization, your school or university or hospital foundation, make a gift, count how many clicks it takes, look for any friction points, but then also see what happens after you make that gift. What's the email that you receive? What does that look like? And does it stop there? Do you get any more outreaches? Okay, so see, it's all about reducing friction, making it as easy as possible on your donors to donate. Okay, if you have questions as we go through this, by the way, I should have brought that up earlier, hit that Q&A button and it'll show up on the screen. Rob and I can tackle any questions you have, whether it's about software vendors, embedded forms, strategy, etc. Okay, tied to keeping it simple, if your donation page is leaving money on the table, if you include navigation links. This is a good looking donation form. Rob, what are we talking about in terms of navigation links?
Yeah, the top there, you're arriving at this page, which is a really nice, simple donation form. The problem with this page is people can arrive here and get distracted from the entire purpose of why we sent them here in the first place, which is we want to get a donation. If they get here, they could get lost and get distracted and say, oh, I wonder who is on the board of directors. Well, who's the staff members here? We want to eliminate those. This donation form is fantastic. It's really simple, straightforward. But all those external links, if we can get rid of those, we're going to convert more often than not.
Yes, well said. Do not, as donation page designers, you should never underestimate the ability of a donor to get confused or to get distracted or to wander off. We want to make it as simple as humanly possible. Do not give any other avenues. What about, Rob? What's an option? There are many organizations who have a communications office or an IT office, and they have a standard website design. And if they want to set up a donation page, there's a template, and the template includes all the navigation. What do they do in those sorts of situations?
Yeah, and so I think that's probably what people are saying. Well, this is our page template. We have to have a page that looks like this. I get that. So what we have used with a lot of our clients is Unbounce pages. It's just unbounce.com. It allows you to design pages, really simple pages. Those Phoenix pages that Nick showed a couple slides back, those were designed in Unbounce, and they can be really simple. They don't have any other navigation links. You can create CNAME records, which I don't fully understand, but your IT department does. You can create CNAME records that will make it appear as though your donor is on your website still, so they won't feel like they're at some foreign place. But it cleans it up, makes it simple. And the other part, Nick, the point that you were making was you don't have to work with your IT department to get something cleared. Like, okay, well, we can get to this on Friday. If you need to make a change on Monday and get it out Monday afternoon, you can do that yourself. So that's the nice thing, is if you want to put a new form in there, if you want to change some wording on it, it's really simple to go in there, activate it, and do it yourself, and you can host your own donation pages.
Yep. So unbounce.com is what we use. If you're on Razor's Edge or Salesforce or Virtuous or Classy or anything, you can design your donation form inside your giving processor and then drop that form on an unbounce page, and then you connect it to your own website. Bypass comms, bypass IT. Yes, you should have them involved in the process, but it lets you design a page that will actually raise you more money, which you should win that argument, right? If the page is going to overperform, it's going to raise more money. Everybody should be interested in that. Plus, as a bonus, you're going to get better tracking and things that you want as a donation, as a development office. You want better tracking and control of that donation page. You don't want it just to be a standard templated version. And I saw a couple questions that popped up. One, again, yes, we are recording this and we will share it with you so you can share with the others in your office. So we can speak to that. And the other point I was going to make was, again, just go to large organizations that have the money to do research, to do A/B testing, look at what their donation pages look like, and then just copy them, right? If you're a small shop or you don't have the ability to run a lot of tests, you will see that most designs have centered on a certain layout that looks something like this because that's what works, okay? Okay. Your form might be too long. This is the easiest one to fix. This on the screen we have, this is a real donation form that exists in the wild. Look at all of those required fields that are on there. It's just a lot, and you can make the case for every one of these fields, Rob, that like this is important, we need to have it on there. Rob, what do we know about the research in adding fields to donation forms? What does that do?
Yeah, the more required fields you have, the less conversion you're going to get. So if you have 3 required fields, you're losing, 5, 6, you're going to lose donors. They're going to drop off. And the point to make there is, think about the fields that you have on your donation form right now, and think about, are you truly using that feedback? This is nice that this has the opportunity to say this person would like to volunteer. Are you using that? And if you are, there's potentially a way to do that on the back end of the gift rather than the front facing end. If you send a thank you and say if you'd be interested in volunteering with our organization, that's a better way to get involvement rather than doing it on the front end. Before I can even make a gift, you're already asking me to volunteer, and you're asking me to do all these other pieces of information that you're asking for.
Yes. And I've seen research that says it's 10% drop, not just in donations, in any form of completion, like 10% drop for every new field that you add. So if that's true, think how you only want the bare minimum, right? You want their name, you want their credit card info, and probably their zip code to process the credit card. We haven't A/B tested forms because I don't want to have any of our clients put out a really long form, and then see how much money we're costing them. But trust us, you want short, effective forms. Most donation platforms now have gotten around to this, and it's a cleaner, experience that they can do. What we find a lot of times, so we're fundraising professionals, we're communications guys. A lot of times when the finance office has a heavy hand in the donation form, that's generally when it gets a little bit longer, and they see it as less of a donor-centered thing and more of like a accounts receivable sort of efficiency type thing. So try and defend your donation forms. Make sure they're as limited as possible. You always have the ability to go back to a donor if you really need that information. Okay, you don't need to ask them, if they're married. You don't need to ask them those things. You don't need to ask them if they want to get a fax from you. Include that in the follow-up email if you really, really need that information. Okay, number 5. You are absolutely costing yourself money if you are making people log in to donate to your organization. Okay, depending on the size of your organization, this could be costing you $10,000 a year or $1 million a year. We have a large client that we worked with. Again, all of these are fixed now, so I feel bad picking on clients, but it's instructive, to let people know what to do and what not to do. This is a large organization, and it worked in an area with they had about 500,000 potential donors, and they were very worried about dupes. Their data processing team, was overwhelmed by duplicate donations. Their solution was to require donors to enter a 9-digit code in order to be able to make a gift. Okay, And I understand how this comes about. I don't mean to pick on data processing teams. We are a data processing team. But that is absolutely the wrong decision to make, because think of the donor experience for this. A donor wants to donate to this organization. They go to the website and there's this little pop-up that says you need to enter a 9-digit magic code before you can give to us. This easily cost this organization hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past few years. Okay, so you are better off not requiring that and just letting dupes come into your system and clean them up during the off season. That is a much better approach if you're overwhelmed by the volume of it. Rob, anything to note on this? Do we see this a lot anymore?
Not a lot. I mean, some orgs you all will have. You know, I actually just logged into one of an organization I donate to today. It had my email and a password, which is a little easier to sign in, but it wasn't required. Obviously, I could make a new gift. It wouldn't be attached to my account. But I think, I guess you think about the new donor, a donor in this case where they are trying to make a donation for the first time. If they're required to give a number they don't have, you've lost the acquiring of a new donor.
Yep. And Katie in the Q&A has a great question. So a lot of giving platforms now have a useful tool that you can set up an account, right? So you can manage your giving, you can update your credit card information. That is wonderful. That is good. That's okay to have that ability to log in, right, on your donation page, on your donation form. You cannot require that, right? That is where people get turned off. And even if you make it too prominent, like click here to log in to donate, it should first be a donation experience and then one small little hyperlink that says, you know, sign in, because people that want to sign in are going to know to look for it. Yeah. So Katie, that's a great question. We want people to be able to manage their own stuff, but you have to make it donor centered, because otherwise you will never get a new donor in the door. The only people that will ever donate to you are the ones who are already in your system. Okay. All right, moving along. Halfway through, number 6, you are costing your organization money if you are using open-ended donation forms. Here, we're going to take a segue. I'm going to explain what I mean by open-ended donation form. So on a previous webinar, we talked about this. We did a huge research project about pledge cards. So again, we do consulting and we run these giant $5, $10, $20 million annual appeals. We're raising hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We want to make sure we're doing everything possible we can to kind of optimize. So we looked at cards that nonprofits use. Pledge card, and it looks like this, right? Thank you for your gift. Please write in the number that you want to donate. Okay. There is another kind of pledge card, and that's a pledge card with ask amounts, and it looks like this. Instead of asking the donor to write in the amount, we offer them a selection. Just check this box if you want to give 50 or 100 or 175. Those are the two kinds of pledge cards: open-ended and those with ask amounts. And we studied, we wanted to know, okay, which one works better? And we found out that they work well with very specific audiences. So the open-ended card for direct mail works best with major donors. And what we learned was those folks that are major donors, and here you can define it on your own, whether it's 5,000 or 10,000, those are the two typical benchmarks. Major donors are going to give, they gave $10,000 last year. They are going to give to your annual appeal again this year, but they want to write in that amount. They don't want you to suggest that amount to them. Okay. I think of it, I use this analogy all the time. If I want to surprise my wife and mow the lawn and have our lawn look great and she's all happy with me, I'm all proud of that decision. I want it to be my decision. Feels totally different if before I get to go mow the lawn, she texts me and says, hey, would you mow the lawn today? The same thing is happening, but in one of them, I feel proud and I'm excited and I feel like I'm doing some good. And the other one, I feel like I'm just doing a chore or fulfilling a task that was assigned to me. That's how your major donors feel for direct mail, right? So give them the opportunity to write in that amount on their own. The pledge card with ask amounts on it works best with literally everyone else. Okay, so if it is not a major donor, you should be sending your direct mail appeals with pledge cards that have ask amounts on them. Okay, and if you want to know how to make those ask amounts, we actually that's the service that we built called AskGenius. I know a lot of the folks on the line use it. That's what AskGenius is. If you're wondering why AskGenius is all over this webinar and we're talking about donation pages, it's this cool little tool we built to set custom ask amounts for all of your pledge cards, right? So if you're mailing out to 100,000 people and you need an easy weight that combines giving history and wealth research and all of that to come up with a perfect ask amount, that's what the tool does. If you want to learn more about that, we can do two things. You can sign up for a private demo, and we can put the link in the chat. Otherwise, we're doing a public demo tomorrow. So you can join Rob and Andrew and I tomorrow at noon Central Time, and we'll talk about AskGenius. All right, so that was a bit of a sidestep. The topic we're on was open-ended asks on donation pages. The same lessons that apply to direct mail, which is major gift donors should get a blank that they fill in on their own. Everybody else should get a pre-selected range of options, of gift options. That same approach applies online. And we know this because we've tested it out and it works exactly the same way. So when we first started working with clients, we would design segmented donation pages, and low-level donors would go to this page with low-level invitations, and medium donors would go here, and large donors would go here. And what we found in a terrifying way was that major donors were underperforming. They were going to our donation pages and giving less because we had specific amounts on those pages. So we changed it all around, and we got a lot smarter and better. Now things are back on track. We send major donors to a page that looks like this. And Rob, talk to us about this major donor page. What makes it different?
Just the fact that we aren't jumping straight into that. You don't see the donation form yet. You see the same information that you saw before, but you're seeing what we're explaining to them, that the major donors that we're attracting to this page, or that we're sending to this page, what avenues they have to make a gift. Now, there's still going to be a pledge form below this, but that's what the main purpose here is, to give them a little bit different information just based on the audience that we're sending to.
So if they gave your annual appeal $10,000 last year, you're going to invite them to give again this year, and you're going to give them a link to donate online, and it's going to go to this page, which talks about people like you make gifts like this, right? Stocks and securities, IRA gifts, legacy gifts, and even Rob, you mentioned the donation form below. Is that intentional? We have the donation form below the spot where it says call us and email us. Is that intentional?
Yeah, absolutely. If they want to give us a 10,000 or however large a gift to this page, absolutely. But kind of the intent here is to get a connection with our major donors. So we want them to email or call us if they do have some of these other options that they would like to give through. And again, this is why we leave it open-ended, though, because if we're sending them to a generic page here that has a 50, 100, 150 option here, they're gonna lean towards a much smaller gift than if we would leave it open-ended.
Yes. Yep. 100%. And it's kind of a dance. Not all donors are equal, right? It's okay to say that. You want to design a donation page that doesn't result in every single donor calling you to make a gift. You want them to be able to make a gift online. But with your very top donors, you want the opposite. You want them to call you and be incentivized to reach out to you, build that relationship. Okay. Number 7. Your donation page is costing your organization money if you are not segmented based on ask amount. And this is a corollary to what we just talked about. In the old days, which is not too long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, your organization needed a donation page. You needed a button that you could click to make a gift online. And that was what you had to offer your donors. Those days are gone, right? So now we're in this world where you don't have one donation page. You probably have 12 or 15 donation pages. So to the donor who's making a gift to your organization, and we'll stick with the Diocese of Phoenix here, it looks like this, and they have no idea that they're entering, one specific page out of 12 or 13. They just think this is the donation page. But behind the scenes, people like us in development office, advancement offices at high schools and universities are looking at their donation pages in the same way that we've always looked at direct mail. In direct mail, we segment, we ask for different amounts. We invite people to give at a level that's appropriate for them. Many of them use the AskGenius tool to set those ask amounts. Now you have to assign donation pages in the same way. So on this screen in front of you, there's a lot of numbers there, but it's just highlighting something that happens behind the scenes, which is before we send direct mail out the door, we assign ask amounts, and then we group those ask amounts to specific donation pages that look exactly identical in every way except the suggested gift buttons. Yeah, does that make sense, Rob? Did I explain that okay?
Absolutely. And this, if you don't listen to any other point that Nick or I are making today, this is the one that will get you the most bang for your buck. Is if you're sending every donor in your entire database to the same page, you're absolutely leaving money on the table. Do yourself a favor and create multiple donation pages.
It costs you nothing. However you're creating your pages right now, you have some way that you're creating a donation page. You can duplicate that page and create a different donation form on it with different amounts. Easiest win, other than if you're requiring people to enter a constituent code before giving. Other than that, this is the biggest lift that you'll have. Okay, and you do not need a donation page though for every single ask amount. So if you're using AskGenius specifically, you might have 10,000 pieces of direct mail. You might have 4,000 different ask strings. You do not need 4,000 donation pages, but you do probably need 7 or 8, right? You just want to generalize and lump people in together. That will raise you more money. We track this in very, very minute detail. We know that it works, so make sure that you're setting up those different donation pages. On that topic, I'm going to talk about a donation funnel here in a second. As we're setting up those donation pages, you also want to be promoting recurring gifts. Okay, and here's how you do it. Donation page funnel is a term that's thrown around a lot. Here's what it means to us. We want to control that donation experience for the donor. The worst thing I want to do is have them just go to a one-size-fits-all page. The next best thing is I want them to go to a page that at least has ask amounts that are appropriate for them. Even better is I want them to go to a donation page that I've designed that's going to invite them to make a recurring gift first. And then if they don't want to make a recurring gift, we invite them over to make a one-time gift or a pledge. So here's what this looks like in the real world. And this is for the folks that are on the line. When you want the slides, these are probably the slides you're going to want, because you're going to take this and go back to your own donation page and kind of look through and see how it works. For all of the clients that we're working with on the consulting side, we are setting up a system of recurring gift pages here. So example 1, 2, 3, 4 on the screen, going from a $10 ask all the way up to a $150 ask. And then we have a little funnel that, and I'll show you what this looks like on the next screen here in the wild. We're inviting the donor first to make a recurring gift. And if they don't want to make a recurring gift, we're giving them the option to click to go to a different page to make a one-time gift. And in this case, we have a low and a high page. You can see how it works. Some donors like to make pledges. In our consulting world, a lot of dioceses operate on 10-month pledges. So we want to make sure we give people the option there as well. But what we found was by splitting up the pages, we could dramatically increase the number of people who make recurring gifts. Simply by making it a different page versus having a form with a checkbox of do I want to make it a recurring gift or a pledge or a one-time gift, instead of just having that one-size-fits-all form, we created different pages for each vehicle, and we're able to dramatically increase the number of recurring gifts, which was our goal. In addition to this funnel that I'm showing you on the left side of the screen, you have some special purpose pages. You've got a signature donor page, which is what Rob and I spoke about a little bit ago. Any major donor, you want to invite them to a major donor page that says, you're awesome, you're incredible. People like you make gifts of stock. People like you donate through IRA and they leave estate gifts. So that's your signature donor page. You also have the default donation page. We cannot get around the fact that people will go to your website and click donate, and you need to have some sort of catch-all page, and that's okay. But you're never directing people there. You're always directing people to a specific page, but if they go on their own, they can find it. And we also have a special project page. In fact, many of them. So Rob, like when we're testing out a text to give thing, or like, an email campaign, you'll all often create just a whole standalone page, right? Just so we can track it.
Yeah, just for evaluation purposes, if we're sending folks from, maybe a Facebook link through an ad or something, or just some way to again, it's just all about tracking to see how many conversions we're getting from different locations.
The most frustrating thing in the world is when you come up with a really great idea and you forget to create a new donation page for it, and then you can't really tell if it worked or not. And I've done that so many times. So that's why we're spending a lot of time on this slide. It costs you nothing to create another donation page, right? You're not paying by the web page. So just create a page, dupe it out, and then you can see how it's performing. Here's what this looks like to the donor, right? So internally, we know what they are. We know that we have low monthly invitation page, medium monthly invitation page, a one-time gift page, a major donor page. But to the donor, they're just getting a piece of direct mail, probably followed up by an email with a link, and they're going to what they assume is a normal donation page. They don't need to know that they're being segmented and funneled in a certain direction. Okay, so this is typically what it looks like to the donor. You have all these different landing pages. Rob, why is it important that these are simple and easy? Is that important?
Yeah, I mean, you think about how you're going to promote these. We're going to send different groups to different pages. So that would be via direct mail. You think about how that's going to look when you print that. And then when you put it in an email too, we like to put raw links in emails rather than a click here hyperlinked or a really long charity.org/appeal_2002_ give today_. I mean, you all know you have those web pages, but you don't want to send those out. So you make it clean like this. It's a lot. It looks so much better on pledge cards, on letters, on emails. You want simple addresses.
Yep. And direct mail is still king. I mean, so we are a digital savvy tech firm, but direct mail is still the king of fundraising. It's the anchor, it's the workhorse. But people that get direct mail, the study shows like 58% of them want to go online to make a gift. So they want to get that heartfelt letter and learn about the organization, but they also want a clear way they can go and just type in a web address. Okay, so this is what it looks like in the wild. Here is a different client of ours, Dice of Nashville. So remember the donation funnel. The first spot for a donor is to go and make a monthly donation. So that's what it is right here. A big affirmative statement. Affirmative statements are all over the place because they work. Your pledge card should have an affirmation statement like this. Yes, I want to put shoes on kids. Yes, I want, a laptop per child. Yes, I want to solve hunger, whatever it might be. Yes, I want to set up a monthly donation, to support this annual appeal. If the donor wants to make a one-time gift, they have to go and click here and it'll take them to a whole different page. We are not designing donation forms that have all of the options embedded within them. We can talk about the pros and cons of that. We don't do it because we know that this works better and we really want to encourage those recurring givers. If they don't want to make a monthly gift, they click on the page and they arrive at something like this. They can make their one-time gift. What we found is pretty incredible. 31% of donors who gave online made a recurring gift when we built this funnel out. We've since replicated that with other clients as well. It's usually in the 25% range. So 1 in 4 online donors we can inspire to make a monthly recurring gift. Recurring gifts online were 20% higher than offline recurring gifts. And for new donors, they were 44% more likely to give online than existing donors, which means we can funnel them in much more quickly to becoming a sustaining donor. So when you think about your donation pages, big takeaway from today is we challenge you, do not think about it as a simple one-size-fits-all. How should we design our one page? It's how do we design the most effective one page possible? And then how do we duplicate that, and have a thoughtful funnel that leads donors where we want them to go. Okay, number 9, you are leaving money on the table if your donation page is not mobile friendly. I think so. We've got a couple hundred people on the line here. I would be shocked if more than 4 or 5 of you have a donation page that's not mobile friendly at this point. Rob, would you agree? Are we at that point?
Yeah, I think most everybody, hopefully by this point, is giving strong consideration to mobile.
Yeah, mobile, and it's just the world we live in now. So when Rob and I started the firm 4 years ago, one of the first things we did was we worked with the finest high school in the nation, Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll, Iowa. All roads lead to Carroll, Iowa. We worked with them on, they have an event, they have this big annual gala, and we wanted to reach young donors that don't live in Carroll, right? A small rural town in Iowa. Most alumni didn't stick around. They had 10,000 alumni all around. So what we did was a little thing we called a blitz, and using simple text messages, we had the people that were in the room, a few hundred people there for the gala, send this text to their classmates and their friends and siblings. And it said, hey, I'm at this blitz, and if you make a gift, great things will happen. And then it was a nice, easy URL. The important thing about all this was that it could be done on a smartphone. People were there. They loved it. It became this little competitive thing. And then as their siblings and children and classmates donated, they would then be prompted to change their profile pic, right? So it was just a wonderful thing to watch happen in the course of the night. All the people that were there in person were making donations. Then they were texting their friends who could go on that mobile friendly donation page, change the profile, and suddenly everybody sees this and says, hey, what's going on? They click on badges and they can donate. So I share that just as an example to say, this is where a lot of the certainly special event fundraising is moving. You've got to have mobile friendly donation experiences and let people share things to their social media. Okay, last one, and then we're gonna there's lots of great questions poured in. I wanna make sure that I'm tackling all of them. The last one is a little bit technical, but studies show if you direct people to a different site for donations, you are losing money, right? There is a certain drop off. I don't know exactly what it is, but I remember reading the statistic and saying, okay, well, we'll never do that. Where if you have your website, they're on your website, and you say click to give, and then it takes them in another tab to some giveorganization.com, login type thing. Another thing that we see a lot is social media fundraising. we'll have a nonprofit says, hey, I want to put up something on Facebook. Rob, what's bad about Facebook fundraising, or what's the con about using Facebook for donations?
Well, you're not capturing as much data as you would like. You want to receive all of the information that you would get on by embedding your own donation form on a donation page. So it's harder to get all of that information, and it's there's some importing involved as well there.
Yep, yep, and that's it. The way it works, you just end up getting a check like from Facebook or $75. You have no idea who made that donation, which is a pretty tough way to steward that gift and thank the donor. We see this also, so not just social media, but again, third-party sites in the religious space in churches. It happens a lot. So the old days, there would be an online payment processor giving company that came out, and then churches would use it, and it was like a clearing. It was like a bank site. So all the churches would send their donors to go log in at this organization to make a gift. That's the old way. Nobody really does that a whole lot anymore. You still see it a little bit. Nowadays, software vendors are much more savvy, and you can actually embed that form on your own site. They should never have to leave your website, your domain, so they can have confidence that their gifts are being used wisely. Anything I didn't tackle there, Rob?
Yeah, the one thing there too that you all may be thinking, well, didn't you just say we should use Unbounce and send people to Unbounce? Yes, that is a different site than your website, but again, you can make it look as though it is your page. So like with the clients that we have, so Nick uses the example charity.org. So you can create an Unbounce page that would be give.charity.org. So it's still the charity.org web address that people think they're still on charity.org, but we know it's a donation page that we have built. And that's the important thing, that you don't want people to feel like they're in a foreign place, like, wait, I was just on my organization's website, why am I on this Giving for Good or this other website that I don't even know what I'm giving to at this point?
Yes, and we just follow the research, right? And research has shown people donate less and people drop off. So you want to eliminate friction, have that embeddable form on the page. And there's a question from Jennifer here, a great question about what about when we talk about donation page design, what about like pop-ups? Is there a reason you don't do stuff like that? All of that is great. We work within what our clients have. So whatever donation software they have, if they have Blackbaud, they're mostly using BBMS. Some will be using Give Central. Others there's great ones like Fundraise Up, is a good partner of ours. There's lots of different software companies you can use for your giving experience. Use all the bells and whistles, but you follow our advice here, right? Keep it simple, keep it direct. Promote monthly giving first. There's lots of different strategies we can have on chasing one-time donations and making them recurring giving that we won't get into here. But yeah, so Jennifer, nothing against pop-ups. We love them. We think it's great. Most clients aren't using that level of software, so we didn't highlight it too much. Okay. If you found this, I'm going to get to all the questions. We've got a couple dozen here that I want to get to. If you found this helpful, we have people saying, hey, how can we learn? You said you did other webinars. I'll ask one of our colleagues to drop in the chat. We have a newsletter that goes out where anytime we learn something fun and interesting, we put in the newsletter. So feel free to sign up for that. You'll hear about any webinars that we're doing. We've got some great topics coming up. We also have recorded everything that we've done so far. So if you want to learn more about pledge cards or what your letter should look like, how long your letter should be, what font to use, we did a great one on that. So if you can, check in the chat to sign up for the fundraising newsletter. And then finally, again, our core thing, what we do is we help nonprofits set ask amounts. That's what AskGenius does. If you want to set up a private demo, we can show you around. Otherwise, tomorrow, just mark your calendar. We're doing it at noon Central Time. We'll walk through the whole platform. We can talk about ask amounts there. Okay, questions and answers. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Rob, did you see any on the list when I was talking that you want to tackle first, or should I dive in here?
So yeah, one of the questions was, do you reuse URLs for multiple appeals? We have. The way that we reuse those is, though, you change out the donation form just so you can track that better. So you can use the exact same give.charity.org year after year. Just make sure you're changing out the donation form or the appeal on the back end of whatever software you're using, so you're able to track the year and everything that you want to track: appeal, campaign, fund, all of that information.
And that's good advice too. And one thing we should be clear on, you should get out of the habit of having like a donation page that's like Grateful Patient 2022 or something, and then the next year you do Grateful Patient 2023. Like, you don't want that, because you will be shocked how many donors and potential donors save your emails, save your donation forms, go back to make a gift later on, So you do always want that URL to stay consistent. But as Rob said, swap out the donation form so you can track it a little bit better. Margaret asks, how do we define a major donor? Great question. It depends. It's a very lawyerly answer. Usually $10,000 or more, sometimes $5,000 or more, just depending on the size of your organization. So it depends on your organization. Just take our advice that treat those major donors, however you define them, differently, right? Don't pre-suggest ask amounts. Don't send them to a one-size-fits-all page. Send them to a page specifically for them. Rob, talk more about raw links in emails. What's the research? Why do we do that? And
So
what
that's kind of,
do you mean by raw links as well?
yeah, it's maybe a different topic, but since we touched on it, we'll talk about it. Just the stuff, and this will allow me to at least mention our friends next after. If you haven't checked out nextafter.com, check them out. They are fantastic. They do tons and tons and tons of research for nonprofits specifically. They are fantastic. They are a great resource. So I strongly recommend them. Anyway, that leads into the reason why we suggest in an email to use a raw link. And a raw link is you go to your browser, you go up to that your URL and you copy, click it, paste it into your email. The reason we do that, most emails that we like to send from our clients, we want to make them look personable. We want to make it look like Nick wrote that email, not it came from a MailChimp, or that we want it to look like Nick sat down at his desk and wrote it. And when you think about you writing an email, how often, now maybe some of you are savvy enough, how often though are you hyperlinking some of your text? Usually you're just grabbing a link and pasting it in there, right? That's what a normal person would do. Just, I'm going to grab it, paste it in here. That's the idea behind why we suggest putting raw links in there, because it just looks more natural that you wrote that email.
Yep, and that's boy, that's another battle we fight too on email design in general, right? So most of you are artistic, right? What looks good, and we want big impact photos and headers, and we want to stay with our branding of our nonprofit. That's actually counterproductive in terms of fundraising. Your emails should not look like a newsletter. Your emails should not be over designed. They should not have a ton of photos. They should be text. That is what works. If your goal is to raise the most money, that is what you should be doing, right? So raw links, heartfelt, text-heavy emails that come from a real person in one person's voice, not an e-newsletter, and not a ton of design. Because when you get those emails with a ton of design, it feels markety. That's just what our brain clicks. It's like, this feels like I'm getting something from Best Buy or Shields or whatever it might be. Okay, so I want to give you a real person. Carmen asked, do we accept non-Catholic Church clients? We're a university. So I should explain again. I know it's confusing the way I lay it out. Prayer Solutions Group is a consulting firm, started as a consulting firm 4 years ago, where we work with large Catholic clients, like dioceses. We run almost half of the diocesan annual appeals in the country. In the course of us doing that work, we've made a lot of discoveries, and we've invented some cool things like AskGenius. We don't consult. We really don't take on any consulting clients anymore because we're overbooked. So we kind of stopped taking on consulting clients. AskGenius, the tool that we built, is being used by everybody and their dogs, right? So hospital foundations, universities, museums here in the US and in the UK and Australia and Canada. So if you want to use AskGenius to set your ask amounts and check out that, please do so. It's not limited to just the Catholic Church space. If you want some consulting help, feel free to reach out to me. I can probably direct you to somebody. But we have a good problem to have in that we've got a waiting list of folks to work with. Thank you, Carmen, for that compliment. Okay, a question about unbounce again, Rob. So maybe run through one more time what unbounce is and how it can work with anything.
Yeah, unbounce is it's a really easy platform that anyone who knows how to use a computer can design a website, basically. I mean, it's that simple. So the question specifically about Altru being able to use it with unbounce. Unbounce has fields that will allow you to embed HTML code. So if you are embedding your donation forms on any page on your own website or anywhere else, you would be able to embed them on Unbounce. So it has, ability to put pictures, text, layering, donation forms, all of that information can go onto an Unbounce page. So if you can embed your donation form, you can put it on Unbounce.
Yep. So Unbounce is a tool you use when you need to create a donation page and you run into roadblocks of your organization. IT says no, your comms department says it has to have navigation, but you just left this webinar and they said, oh my gosh, we shouldn't have navigation, we shouldn't have all this stuff. Go to Unbounce, design it there, drop your form in. Michelle asked, with Unbounce, who processes the donation? Whatever donation form you're using, you're just dropping it onto the Unbounce page, right? So think of it as just a simple web page editor that you can bolt onto your site. So if you're using Blackbaud, if you're using Salesforce, whatever it is, they're going to let you create a donation form. They'll give you the HTML for that. Inside of Unbounce, you copy and paste that form and it just shows up. Okay. So a couple good reasons. Unbounce, we've talked about. Next After, I saw in the chat, lots of people that have been there before. They know that Next After is great. Rob, they even have a conference, right, that we've gone to a bunch?
Yeah, Next After has, they call it the NEO Summit, which is implementation optimization.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun conference. I mean, if you're looking for a fun conference with fun people, they have great speakers. I think they're in Kansas City next year, but they're great. A lot of stuff that we use, we took their research and put it into action.
Yep. So we love applying the stuff from Next After. Margaret asked, what's the minimum stuff you need to process a donation anymore? I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so it depends on, which service you're using. If you're using, Razor's Edge, that a lot of our clients do, it's going to have the automatic fields that you have to use to process a gift. The things that we're saying that you can avoid are the one thing that we love to capture, because we love email. I would say absolutely capture email addresses. Phone numbers, not as important. I mean, how often are you calling your donors? How often are you texting them? Not a lot. You can have that on there, but even if you have it on there as a non-required field, as an optional field, that's more friction. So if you can avoid getting a phone number, you don't need that phone number. I know we saw the fax number. Obviously, that's very important. No, I'm just
and also
fax would be on anywhere. But I mean, the minimal is first name, last name, email. I mean,
yes.
Beyond that, what is your office using that you absolutely have to have on that donation form?
And for credit card, even like we see a lot, you don't need to have tell us what kind of credit card. Like you really don't need that stuff anymore. It's all baked into the number. I saw some stuff in the chat about like Venmo and Bitcoin and crypto and things like that. Probably a whole other webinar that we can get on our soapbox and talk about all of those things. There are specific uses where it might be helpful to have PayPal or Venmo or something like that. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole now, but your time is much better spent just making sure you have a nice mobile-friendly donation page with an easy URL without any other navigation on it, that's segmented to the specific donor. Any donor that can pay by Venmo can also just type in their credit card, because they're on a browser that's going to remember their credit card. Like, that's just the way it works. If you can move into the world of having Google Pay and Apple Pay and stuff, that's great as well, but probably outside the scope of what we're tackling here. What else? Any other questions? So last call for questions here. I'm trying to look through the chat, see if I missed anything on there. If you have any questions, write them in. I will also, somebody just asked about, what about that AskGenius demo? Let me put that back up. Hold on. Share screen. Okay, so we've talked a ton about donation pages. If you want to know more about AskGenius and the tool to set ask amounts, use the QR code on the right. That's for our public demo tomorrow at noon. If you want to talk about somebody that has already reached out and wants to talk about their university using it and do a private demo, use the one on the left. We've only got 6 spots coming up in the next month, so you feel free to grab one of those while we have them. Rob, anything else that we didn't tackle that you want to make sure we address here?
I know Katie's asked it in a couple different spots just to address that. I would say if you're looking for planned giving information, that would go on that specialty page. It would not fall on one of those general donation pages, but absolutely the planned giving information could be on that specialty page that you would direct major donors to.
Yep, I wouldn't put it on any of the other ones because it's just too much, right? If somebody's just making a gift at that point, let them make a gift. Don't harass them to leave something in their will or anything. If you really need to do that, you can do it in an email chaser, after they've made the gift. But get the gift in the door, make sure they feel great about it, and make it an impactful gift. Tell them thank you, and then you can always go back to them, after that. Okay.